Okay, what up, people? It's your boy Chig from Gooner Eagle Eye coming to you again with a brand new video. This time it is to do the player ratings from yesterday's game, Huddersfield versus Arsenal. And joining me are two good friends of the show. First of all, Mike from the Gooners podcast. Always correct myself.
We're changing our name every week just to keep you on your toes, because
there you go.
Or every 2 days for each thing that you produce. So yes, thank you for having me on, I should say.
Of course. And also, an audio-only mode is Lewis. Say hello to the people, Lewis.
Good evening, my Gunner people.
There you go. Right, so first thing first, I mean, what a wonderful day today was. Especially when you compared it to yesterday. I mean, you would never know that Arsenal actually won a game yesterday if you went on Twitter. But today, I think every Gooner was smiling that little bit wider today. I mean, just a quick word on Chelsea versus Man City. I mean, I thought we were bad at City a couple of weeks ago, but what was that? What was that? I mean, that was previous manager-esque type football. What is going on? Mike, what was your take on today's game?
Honestly, I didn't watch it. I just watched the goal count go up every 5 seconds. Frankly, woke up.
By the way, that's what
that was what I was waiting for, the sixth goal. But yeah, I honestly didn't watch it, but I will probably go back and just watch the extended highlights because it's going to be so glorious. Yeah. Those guys, they don't fuck things up like a little bit. When they fuck up massively. And it's beautiful to watch. I mean,
club. They either win the league or they just dramatically fall off. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Yeah, and it's still Mourinho's stain. A couple managers later, still getting them. But it's a beautiful thing when they lose 6-0 and or 6-0. Sorry, and yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be enjoying being in fifth place too much, but it's better than 6. Let's put it that way. And how good is Aguero? Still.
Best striker since Henry, man. I don't want to hear no debates. People are talking about Van Persie. No, this guy's a lot better than Van Persie. I don't hear none of that shit. Suarez, no. I thought Suarez was a good striker, but Aguero's on another planet, man. He's on the very elite of elites.
And I thought he was past it.
Alan Shearer's record for most Premier League hat-tricks now.
Yeah, he equalised it today.
Oh, he equaled it. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, Lewis? What about you? Did you have a chance of watching any of the game today?
Yeah, I watched all of the game, and boy, it puts it into a little bit of perspective for me. Like, we had 3 players above the age of 30 in our back line, and we only conceded 3. You know, and you look at Chelsea, they're meant to be the better side out of us and them, and they capitulated. They really did. That was probably their worst performance of the season, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. Because they deserve it, them chavs. I can't stand them.
I must admit, my friend, we got a WhatsApp group we've got about 15 WhatsApp groups, and he basically came on the WhatsApp group and was like, it's nice to watch a top 6 game where we're not on the bad end of a piping. And it's so true. It's so true. It's nice to just enjoy a game and not think to yourself, fuck Arsenal, man. Hate them. I hate them sometimes. I really do.
Yeah, someone else needs to lose 8-2 for a share, for once. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea, other than Tottenham, probably there's not a team I enjoy watching their misery. I mean, Man City they've cheated to get where they are, and I've accepted that. And so for them to win the league to me is like a numbing thing. If it can't be us, then who the fuck cares if it's them?
Yeah,
but yeah. Chelsea you just love watching them implode, and obviously as long as Spurs and Liverpool don't win it this season, I will be as happy as I could be without us winning it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I must admit, my order of hate is obviously the Spuds. It's United. It's then United. I grew up in that era where I'll always hate them. And then it's Chelsea. Although Liverpool's soon catching up because I can't stand their fans. I actually don't mind the team. I just can't stand their fans. So, but yeah, that's definitely my order of hate. But anyway, let's go back to us and yesterday's game. Let me get your quick takes on it before we go into the kind of marks out of 10. Mike, did you have a chance, obviously there being a big time difference to where you are and where we are, did you have an opportunity to watch the game yesterday?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a 10 o'clock game where I am. I'm on the east coast of the U.S., so it's only 5 hours behind England as opposed to 8, where a lot of our West Coasters are up at 4:30 a.m. to watch the early game on Saturday. Which is nuts.
Honestly, yeah.
But yeah, I was. My son actually had an indoor football match at 7, so we were up early. His match ended. It was a catastrophe. And then, so I was able, long story short, I was at the pub by 9 a.m. And I had to rewatch the game about 2 hours ago to freshen up my, my finer points of player analysis based on, cause it's a little distracted, at the pub, had a little food poisoning, by the end of the game. That's what I call a little too much of the beer. But yeah, it was. I watched the game. That's about the best I could say for it. It wasn't the best display of football from Arsenal. Assuming you want me to kind of go into my feedback on it now.
Oh, crack on, yeah.
Look, I'm not complaining. A win is a win. I predicted before the game it would be 2-1 because obviously we were going to concede a goal. That's what we do. Just took until the very, very end to do it. But our defense probably, and again, you have to keep in mind who we were playing against, but our defensive back 3/5 was not awful for once. Koscielny, again, I'll go into the ratings and stuff, but Koscielny played like the old Koscielny yesterday, and he's had a couple of those since he's been back, and then a couple of stinkers, and it's just all or nothing with him as well. But there are obvious issues which we're gonna with our finishing that we're going to talk about, I'm sure. But it's an away Premier League game. It's against a team that's already basically been relegated. Who cares? You've got to win those games, and we weren't last season. Again, to make those awful comparisons. But I'll take it. It wasn't pretty, but it's not always going to be pretty.
Yeah, agreed. Lewis, how about yourself? What was your kind of takes from yesterday's game and just the reaction as well that came off the back of that?
Right, let's start with the game. It was a typical away match where teams know how we're going to play, and they're just going to wait for us to make mistakes and attack on the counter. But what we did well is we kept on going. I thought Iwobi was absolutely brilliant yesterday, even though he did make a few mistakes, but he's only human. I thought Lacazette getting on the score sheet is always a good bonus since we didn't have Aubameyang out there. And as usual, we kind of don't know how to hold on to a clean sheet. We tend to lose focus towards the end of games and allow teams to just get them real horrible, ugly, niggly goals against us, and it's quite demoralising, But at the end of the day, we got 3 points, and we're closer to the top 4 than what we was at the beginning of the weekend.
I can't remember what the number was. On our last pod, I had a stat that I looked up about the number of goals we had given up in the last 3 minutes of a half, whether it's the first half or the second half. And the number was ridiculous. And you can add one more to that list now, but it was something like 12, and just in the Premier League alone. And it's a problem. I mean, it's something they need to figure out, because literally cannot have the mentality of closing off halves. It just isn't there.
Yeah, 100% agree. And it is a bit of a worry, because funny enough, I mentioned this to Lee in our WhatsApp conversation. I was just I don't understand what's going on with Arsenal, where at the start of the season, we were starting games slowly and then rescuing them by the end of the game, because the second half we were on point. These days, it seems like we're starting games quite well now, but we're ending them so poorly. It happened against City last week. It happened yesterday. It's just like, what is this? What's going on? I have no idea why we can't seem to play for more than a half. It's so annoying.
It's a transition, I mean, I'm not going to make excuses. It's something that needs to be worked on, but you start from the outside and you work through it.
Yeah, agreed.
I just knocked over my microphone. Sorry.
Yeah, you stopped suddenly, so I thought maybe you stopped just.
I have an incredible talent to just stop in the middle of words. No, I'm just kidding.
So it's funny you guys both say that because obviously, especially Lewis's comments about Iwobi, it seems like there were two players that really split opinion yesterday, and that was Mkhitaryan and that was Iwobi. Mike, what was your take on those two? Because I noticed, obviously, Lewis has spoken about Iwobi. What was your take on Iwobi?
Well, Iwobi is two different players in and of himself. He's an aggressive, attacking, violent running, on the attack, just setting up the final ball. What I'm getting at is his finishing is diabolical. I don't understand what he was doing in front of goal. I mean, he's just even the goal he scored, he didn't score. I mean, to be clear. So I mean, his finishing is a 2, but his creation, you have to give it. I mean, he's unique on this team. I mean, say what you want about Mesut Ozil, he wasn't there yesterday, but he's unique on this team with regards to just the I guess I just call it the how hard he drives with the ball. And whether that last pass and that last ball is there or not is really where his problems start. But I mean, we need a guy like that on the pitch making those kinds of runs. But the finishing, I mean, I would give him, if I'm allowed to say this now, I'd give him about a 6 out of 10. I don't think he really was the man of the match or anything yesterday, but he certainly did start some good runs, and his through ball that ended up being the second goal after a couple of other passes was as usual, a very, a sublime through ball. But I could see why he splits opinion, because if you look at his finishing, you're going to say he had a hot dog shit game. But if you look at the rest of the game, you'll say he was probably one of our more important players.
Yeah, he's so frustrating because he's 75% a good player. Unfortunately for him, the 25% that's missing is the crucial part. It's the finishing part, or it's because if you're not going to score goals, you better downstroke the setting. And he doesn't get, even though I was a bit surprised by his stats yesterday. Apparently, he's got I think it's now 4 goals this season and 6 assists, which people kind of say to yourself, all right, well, if he gets 6 goals and 10 assists for the season, would that be terrible? Probably wouldn't be terrible. And that's quite gettable for him. So it's just, he just needs to I don't know. He just needs extra training sessions, calming down, slowing the game down and saying, right, let me make a decision and execute that decision. And I wish he could do that because he's 75% of the way there. He just needs that extra 25% to just shut people up. And I suppose now is as good a time as any to jump straight into the player rating. So let's talk about burnt Leno. Now, judging, here's a funny thing. I had an argument with my friend the other day that Kepa was better than Leno. Now, listen, I am by no means all the way convinced on Leno, but I tell you what, I am damn sure more convinced about Leno than I am about Kepa. £75 million Kepa, who let in 6 goals today. Kepa, what? Come on. I think at this point in time, we probably need to give him more credit than perhaps he gets at the moment. Would that be fair to say, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, he's our number one for a reason. It isn't because of injury. It isn't because of Czech being bad. He's the guy that we need between the sticks right now. I mean, there's no question in my mind that he's the better goalie right now. It's just he's prone to the occasional screamer of a mistake, and we've seen it, with lunging at punching the ball out. I mean, it's happened. He's no David De Gea, but he's also, I think, at least as good as $75 million Kepa. $75 million Kepa. He's fine. I mean, I certainly don't think we're in the market for another goaltender, in the summer, other than to perhaps provide some depth with Petr Cech leaving if we're not ready to promote Macy or Iliev or bring back Martinez. But yeah, Leno's a solid Premier League #1 for me.
Apparently, Emre's already spoken to Martinez and said that he's going to be given a chance to be Leno's #2 next season.
He's been here long enough that it's either kind of shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, let's see what the kid has. Well, why not? Let's see what he has.
Well, we've checked.
He has 5 goals against him against Reading a few years ago. I remember that.
What would you give Leno for his performance yesterday, Mike?
7.4.
Nah, none of that point shit.
Oh, come on. All of mine are going to be point something.
You could get a half. I'll give you a half, but we ain't doing on that 0.4 stuff.
That's too American.
Then I'll give him a 7.5.
All right.
You're going to force me to be boring.
Yes.
7.5. I'll take that.
How about you, Lewis?
There was one moment in the game that I saw where the shots come in, and to be fair, these new Premier League footballs, they move everywhere in the air.
Yeah.
And
I know
the way he pushed it, like he could have pushed it a little bit wider, but he's almost pushed it into the path of the striker. And if Koscielny wasn't switched on, that game that was at what 2-0, I think.
Yeah.
But they would have got their goal earlier in the game. So they're just little things that he actually needs just to tweak on, and he'll be a very good goalkeeper. But for me, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't think he was particularly great. He made saves when he needed to, but I also believe in you're only as good as your defenders in front of you. And if shots are raining down on you, then the problem's not the keeper, it's the men in front.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm with you, Lewis. I thought he was a 6. Not to say that he did anything wrong. I thought he was fine yesterday. I thought there was one save that he made, which I thought was a pretty good one yesterday. That actually kept us kind of in control of the game. But at the same time, like you said, I remember that kind of dodgy moment. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm going to say a 6. I thought he was fine. For me, a 6 is not a bad score. It's fine without being spectacular. So, yeah, I'll say a 6. Right, so let's talk about our back 3. Now, Mike, I completely agree with you. I'm going to start off with Koscielny. I thought Koscielny was fantastic yesterday. And listen, I will eat my words. I said maybe a month ago this player's finished. I'm still not sure I would necessarily take him into next season. But I tell you what, he's playing like someone that wants an extension to his current contract. That's for damn sure. I think we probably need to wrap him in cotton wool a little bit, which means I personally wouldn't start him on Thursday. I think he's a once-a-week player. I think he's our Ledley King, for the want of a better expression. I know people, I'm not saying he's as good as Ledley King. We're in the situation we're in. So at the moment, out of our fit defenders, he's our best one.
Is he better than Titus Bramble?
He's better than Titus Bramble. Yes, so I will give him that much.
I don't even know where that came from, but I just think it's hilarious. Titus Bramble.
But no, yeah, I thought Koscielny was fantastic. I think the chat room are overstretching the 9. I think if we kept a clean sheet, I would have given him a 9. But I'll give him an 8. Oh, fuck it. I'll give him an 8.5. I thought he was excellent yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to go 8.2, but I'm not allowed to, so I'll give him an 8. Yeah, I mean I've been saying for a long time he's a once-a-week player, and I said that before he tore his Achilles too. I mean, like I felt like they overused him last year, and he finally broke down. I mean, he's a guy who was always going to have that injury eventually, especially the way he was being used. And every time he played twice in a week, the second game would be shit. It just was. And so I would, when he got hurt, I said, that's the last we'll see of him. I was wrong. And I was not only wrong about the reality of the situation, I was wrong about the ability for him to come back with the quality that he has shown on some occasions. One of them being, I think it was the Chelsea game. The other, he was also very good yesterday. He wouldn't be the worst person to keep around for another year, as long as we don't give him, tie ourselves into another salary where we're paying somebody for 2 years that they're never going to, end up being any assistance to the team for. So definitely an 8. Wouldn't want to see him on Thursday. Give him a nice long break and let him rest up for our next game and move on to the next defender to rate. But yeah, an 8. He was for me, he was probably co-man of the match.
Yeah, 100%. I'll tell you what, it was out of him and one other player that I'll come to in a second. Let's talk about my friend Mustafi. What dreaded Mustafi?
The horizontal.
Lewis, what would your mark be for Mustafi?
See, Mustafi reminds me, he's exactly the same as Koscielny. There's never any consistency to his game. I don't think he did, from what I remember, he didn't really do anything too rash or too bad. I mean, I expect a player like Mustafi to actually, show his quality against a side like Huddersfield, I think, he gets a 6 for me. He wasn't spectacular, wasn't that great. I think Koscielny did most of the sweeping up back there. I think he was just almost like a passenger in that back three.
I thought for his first half, he would have got a 2 from me. I thought he was terrible. But actually, in the second half, even I have to say this, and people know I'm his biggest critic. There was an improvement. There was. He made a couple of last-ditch tackles where I was like, all right, fair play. I'll give that to you.
All of his tackles are last-ditch, though. That's the funny.
I know, because he sees everything so late.
He has the lowest number of first-ditch tackles in the Premier League this year.
Do you know what that comes down to? It's his ability to read the game. He doesn't read it very well.
Well, use Per Mertesacker as the exact opposite, Lewis. Finish your point, but because Per is the opposite.
Yes.
He couldn't make any last-ditch tackles, but he was in the right spot all the time to make the regular tackle.
And, a perfect example, didn't have great speed, but his speed of thought was like, right, I know I can't get there with my pace. If I position myself in such a way, then the striker or the attacker has to maneuver in a completely different way, and he actually ushered people away from the goal. It's just when Mertesacker was isolated one-on-one with somebody tricky, that's when you see the problem. But other than
what it was? Mertesacker was the eyes, and Koscielny was the dog work, the legs, the brawn. For the want of a better expression.
I don't know if Koscielny's that like brawn. I think he's just
in his heyday.
With Koscielny, he's not exactly the strongest, and but
of the two though, I mean,
but I can't wait to see the back of Mustafi in the summer. I hope he goes. Like we really, really need to get rid. It is a waste of 35 million. I'm sorry to say it. I don't rate him. I just think he's not Arsenal quality. He's not Arsenal quality in the centre back at all.
But
I backed him to come good.
I've been telling people about Mustafi. I've been telling people about Lichtsteiner from the moment we got them. I was always suspicious of why we spent 35 million on a player that deserted Gary Neville so badly the season before. And I thought, is he really that good? Because I remember Valencia constantly getting piped. So I was thinking to myself, how can he be that good? And then I heard he was only 6 foot. I'm starting to get a bit worried. And then people kept hyping the fact that we went on for so long when he was playing without losing. But whenever I look back at that run, I never thought to myself, well, Mustafi was integral to that. I never ever thought that, which is why you never ever heard me talk about that. And then I watched the game against PSG away. I'll never forget that game where Mustafi got the run around. And I thought, no, this player is done out here. He is done out here. And I thought to myself, no way. No way. But then every now and again, he feels like he turns up and he feels like, all right, today I feel like playing. And then you get the occasional good performance from him. You're like, so is there a player there or what? Or are you just lucky?
Mike, Josh in the chat room says he was signed on deadline day as a panic buy, but that deal was being discussed for like 2 or 3 weeks before it happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I agree with that. And Mike Hernandez thinks we just hate Germans, which, despite my background, I don't think that's not true. But Mustafi, Lee Dixon said at the Arsenal Supporters Trust meeting a couple years ago that some people reported on ridiculously. But what he did say about Mustafi was that he had a chat with Gary Neville, and Gary Neville could not understand how it was that we paid £35 million for him. And he coached the guy. And, it was clearly was that stat DNA? Was that, was that Dick Law's fault of just giving away the bag? But, I thought he was a better player than he's turned out to be. He certainly has it in him. His last ditch tackling when he actually performs it successfully it strikes the eye, but it's also part of the bigger picture that he's having to make those tackles so often, and that he frankly goes to ground so often when it isn't needed or when it causes a problem. So I was wrong about him. I thought he'd come good this season, and he's not. So if we can get anything for him this summer and get him off the payroll and replace him with quality, I would be all for that.
Yeah, I must admit, the only person I've ever seen defend Mustafi, funny enough, is in the chat room, and that's Benanares Hussein. He constantly bigs up Mustafi in the comments to the point where I actually think it's not trolling. He actually believes this shit. So I'm like, I don't know what you're seeing.
He ain't Arsenal quality. He's not Arsenal quality. I call him Mr. Horizontal because he loves lying down. He loves a slide tackle. Never stays on his feet. The amount of points he's cost us is absolutely ridiculous.
No, it's definitely trolling, by the way. Look at the last comment.
I've just seen what he put in the chat room. I'm like, oh, okay. It clearly is trolling.
Yes,
the best compliment I can play Mustafi is that he's the best defender since Tony Adams and Sol Campbell. One more comment like that, I promise you, I will time you out.
He's no William Gallas, but
that's a big right there. Jeez, I want some of this stuff he's making.
So 4 out of 10. I actually thought he wasn't a troll, and then he said that. 4 out of 10. I'm sorry, Mike. Did you rate him? I completely forgot.
I was going to give him a 4.5. If I have to use halves, 4.5.
Yeah. Who's the other one? Monreal, Mr. Dependable. Lewis, what do you think about Monreal?
He does his job. It's exactly what it says on the tin with Monreal. You know what you're going to get. It's just a shame that he's not a bit younger. He's solid. He knows. He loves. Sorry. Let me just take my time here. Apologies. With Monreal, you definitely know what you're gonna get, and he didn't really have to do anything spectacular. Made the right passes at the right time. Very composed. A solid 6 out of 10.
Yeah. To me, I agree, and I know Karen Russell, good friend of the show, also agrees. I would say a 6 out of 10 as well. Like you say, just Mr. Dependable. You know what you're getting from him. Nothing spectacular. Clean up job. I guess Emre likes him as a centre back. And to be perfectly honest, I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Even despite Koscielny's recent good performances, he's our second best centre back, and he's a left back.
Yeah.
So,
He's one of those guys that can slide over without any problem whatsoever, and I'd much rather see him, as a left-sided center back in a back three, where you just know that area is going to be dependably handled. Yeah. I mean, it's a good use of him. I would give him a 7 actually, because I'm a huge Monreal fan.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate on you if you gave him more. Trust me, I wouldn't hate on you. Okay, let's talk about the fullbacks. Which way do we go? Let's talk about, just because Mike is on, Mainsley. Let's talk about Mainsley.
Let's talk about Mainsley.
Uninitiated.
Well, Mainsley, the nickname Mainsley comes down to Tom Canton actually screaming that out during a game, and he's like, "Wait, what did I just call him?" So that's where it comes from. But he made some mistakes. He's prone to making some mistakes, giving the ball away a couple times. But he would always run his ass off to recover from those mistakes, which is the least he could do. But not everybody does. Nice cross to Lacazette for our second goal. Good presence on the wing. I like him on the as a wing or wing back on the right side. I know that's not his preferred position, but as long as he doesn't have too many defensive responsibilities, as he does when he's playing the right back in a 4. I don't love that situation, but as a wing back in a back 3, I think he's fine. Nothing special yesterday. I'd give him a 6.8, so a 7 for his performance.
I'm just going to let you do your points. Fuck it. Go on. 6.8.
6.8. What are you like? Do you total these all up, and am I screwing up your point system?
Fuck it. Go on.
You have to buy a new computer to enter these numbers into.
If you're used to your points, you're used to your points. Fuck it. 6.8. Lewis?
I'm honestly thinking that Emery's going to use him as a wing back now rather than in his natural position of centre mid. He's got all the attributes to be a very, very good wing back. Just needs to be a little bit more defensive aware. Lacazette doesn't score his goal if we don't have Ainsley on the pitch. Beautiful cross and a striker's dream to just have a little tap in from 4 or 5 yards out. Because of the assist, he gets a 7. And I mean, Mainsley's going to be a very, very, very good prospect in the future. I like him, Mr. Ice cool on the ball. I never see him panic. He's always composed, and you don't know a lot of the time what his actual natural position is, but he's definitely a centre midfielder.
You guys watch the Sunderland documentary on Netflix?
Oh, no, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I'm going to watch it soon.
This will not spoil anything.
I heard about Doc Rodwell, though. Apparently he's a cunt.
Yeah, he's a cunt. This won't spoil it, but at one point there was a list of players they wanted to take on loan that they thought they could get, and Mainsley was on the top of the list. And imagine if this is probably a year and a half ago. So that would have been interesting. He was the only Arsenal player on that list. Yeah. But I'm glad that we have him and not some League One team. So.
Okay, so I must admit, this one's gonna be a surprise from me. I thought he was poor yesterday. I honestly did. I thought the second half in particular, he was quite poor.
You don't have to comment on his financial situation.
I was shocked that so many people thought he was good. Like I was like, really? Because he gave the ball away a good 5-6 times yesterday in areas where, yes, I understand he's out of position. Believe me, I love the player. But I must admit, I did not think it was a good game. Having said all that, I thought Karen made a really good point in the chat room. The people who given him abuse to the point where he felt he needed to defend himself on Twitter.
Oh, that was awful.
Fucking disgrace. You should leave these fucking players alone. How about you go out there and see if you could do any better?
You took the words
right. I never understood the mentality of thinking to yourself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tweet at the player and let him know how pissed I am.
Now, was that smart of him to respond? I mean, the way he responded was, I mean, I think he was kind of trolling them a little bit by being so self-conscious and say, I will try to do better. Like it was just like, I don't know if that was legitimately like, I'm gonna own up to having a bad game and just, let it be at that, or if he was trolling people back, like, like, oh, you really showed me. I guess I'll just have to try to play better next time. But I mean, is it smart to really get engaged in that kind of thing if you're him?
This is the thing. But to be fair, you're like, what is he, 20 years old? You're human. If people are, and some of these fans are fucking disgusting. They wouldn't just stop at you were shit yesterday. They'll start bringing race into it. They'll start bringing, the history around his mum into it. They'll start bringing all sorts of shit. At some point, you're going to react.
Yeah.
So I can this is why, honestly, if you're a footballer, fuck social media, man. Fuck that shit. You think I'd be on that shit? Xhaka did the right thing. Delete that shit immediately. Because there's nothing good to be gained on social media for a normal person. Never mind a footballer. So to be honest, to me, in my opinion, you should just stay, like you say, stay away from it. Especially if you know that you are susceptible. This is why I have so much respect for Iwobi. Because the type of abuse that guy in particular gets, and somehow he never reacts to it. Never. I never see him react to it. To me, it's amazing.
Can you imagine if Arsene Wenger had a Twitter account?
He must have a level of strength, inner strength. But yeah, to me, I actually thought he was poor. And I would give him a 4 out of 10. I still love the player. I still think if we can only play him somehow in his best position, you'd see a great player. But yesterday, I thought he was poor. I'll give him a 4 out of 10.
I'm just sending him a private message that you gave him a 4 out of 10. I'm going to wait for him to respond.
I won't abuse you, mate. I won't abuse you. Right. So let's talk about our central midfielders. Now,
don't forget about Koscielny.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget about my boy.
Koscielny. Go on then, Mike.
Here we go. The tank is coming out.
Let's hit up.
Wasted a bunch of money on this shirt. I'm going to wear it.
Go on.
As I put my headphone in, I'll be able to hear what you said. Oh, I'm so professional. Sorry about
that. Go on then, Mike. Let us know what you think about the tank.
The tank was a 6. That's all I have to say. Now, he got stamped early in the game in the first half. It probably had some impact on him. You could tell he wasn't brushing off that quickly, but I mean, I like him in there again. Very, very similar feedback as I would give on Maitland-Niles as far as the position I'd like to see him in. Don't want to see him as the left back in the back 4. Do like to see him as the wing back in the back 3. But he didn't really get a lot of his trademark penetration. He didn't get to the line and cut the ball back like he's used to being able to do. The game just didn't flow that way. So it's kind of a nondescript game for him. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. So a 6.
Yeah. Lewis?
Yeah, he wasn't his usual self, he wasn't really bombing up and down. He was almost like he was playing within himself yesterday. Not his usual, I'm going to go at you like I'm a winger and then forget about my defensive duties. I think Unai's had a word with him saying, every time you're getting forward, you're getting caught out. So you need to kind of be a little bit more aware of when you're making your runs forward. Yeah, like Mike said, I'd give him a 5. Neither here nor there, really, for me.
He does actually get a bonus point for his shithousery at the end of the game where after he scores actually, I'm completely forgetting he scored a brilliant goal towards the end.
I was going to say.
Nice little tap in there. So, all right, so you get a point deducted for that, but then you get the point back for picking the ball up, not letting it go, and being put into a headlock by some joker from Huddersfield. But that was a nice little. I'm going to be a douchebag type of play, which I appreciate when it's coming from one of our guys. So he ends up back at the 6 that I put him at originally, but I had to explain how we get there.
I thought he did a little bit better than last week, but I was a little bit pissed off by the own goal because I felt like that own goal. I don't want to say he did it on purpose, but I feel like
it was quite a good finish. To be fair, like I'm with you, Jig. I was looked at, I was like, why did he try to go?
Do that? Like, yeah,
why that direction? Why you're left footed? It's on your left foot. Surely you hook it the other way towards your right. I don't know. I think the ball did come in quite quickly, and the Huddersfield player made an attempt to shoot. And obviously, as Koscielny has just put his foot out, it's more come off of him than he's made an attempt to actually clear it. I think he was taken just a little bit by surprise because it happened quite quickly.
Yeah, and maybe you could be right. I don't know. It didn't sit well with me, though. I must admit. I even watched it back this morning. I was like, yeah, it still doesn't sit well with me. So for me, he loses 2 points for that. Gains a point for the assist. I didn't like the shithousery that Mike is talking about. I must admit. I want to say 5, but my conscience won't let me. 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10.
Damn, brutal.
You said that with such conviction as well. Like you already had the 4 imprinted in your mind.
I did. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. You see, here's the thing. In the chat room, generally, I tend to agree with Karen. So when she said 5, I was like, yeah. And I was trying to make an argument to agree with her. And then I thought, oh, yeah, but the own goal was bad, though. It was bad. And that's how I came to 4. So,
I love how you're contemplating the possibility he might have done it on purpose.
I know, right. For me, Karen marks very similar to me, I've noticed. So when she said 5, I thought, is it a 5? Yeah, probably not. I'm going to go to 4.
Sounds like a brewing romance.
I got love for Karen. Like,
he's already compromising, and I mean that's from there. It's just just wedding bells. By the way, how bad are France at rugby? I'm watching the Six Nations, and they're getting killed by England right now.
Of course. France is shit now.
Yeah,
that'll make a couple of people at work happy.
Didn't they? I think I was in England for the last Six Nations, and wasn't this like a final or something? England and France. I remember watching at a pub.
Yeah,
and there were French fans in there that were celebrating.
Yeah, a few years back now. These days, Ireland and Wales are the teams to beat. If you're England, from an England perspective. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about a player that completely polarizes people, other than Iwobi. And that is Guendouzi. I've seen completely different opinions on yesterday's performance. Some people thought he was shit, slowed down our play. We can't play with Guendouzi because we'll never be fluent. And then there were other people who felt like, he was good yesterday. He was fine. In fact, if anything, he controlled that midfield and allowed us to be able to impose ourselves on the opponent. Lewis, what did you think about Guendouzi's performance yesterday?
He had a few games ago, he had a really, below par performance. And I think he's kind of looked at himself and said, you know what, I need to step up. And I actually think he has stepped up. I quite like Guendouzi in the midfield. He gives you a lot of energy. He may not be the fastest, but his ball recovery is probably number 1 in our team right now. Like there's so many times where he's out of position and out of nowhere he comes, wins the ball, and just moves off. So I think we need to lay off our younger players, because the more we have a go at them, the more they're going to lose confidence. And it's very, very important to the future of our club. And I was saying this earlier, no wonder why a lot of players have left our club, because our fan base is so bad, when it comes to players' performances and stuff like that. And, we have so much more access to players. And if you're consistently on a player's back, they're going to think, you know what, I don't want none of this. Like, I've come here to play for your club, and all I'm getting is pure abuse. And then people wonder why we don't do anything season in, season out. Exactly. It's because we're so abusive towards our own, and we shouldn't be like that.
Exactly.
Guendouzi, you know what you're gonna get. Bags of energy, loves a tackle, loves shithousery. You know, he's a player that we've been looking for a long time, alongside with Torreira. So he gets a 7 for me. I think he wasn't outstanding, but he did his job well.
I must admit,
he loves to celebrate a goal too.
He does. He does. Yeah. I must admit, I'm with you, Lewis, in the sense that my man loves to get involved in the shithousery. He is about that life. For a 19-year-old, he does not care who you are. He'll come because he's quite a big unit. Really, people forget how big Guendouzi actually is. And when they come across it, they're like, "Oh shit, okay." You got the wild hair and everything. It's just like, okay, let me leave it. For me, I'll give him a 6. I thought it was fine. Wasn't as good as last week, but I thought it was fine. I think he did his job. Mike, first and foremost.
Okay, here we go.
So I come to a Mark. You've got to do this thing for Karen and Ola. They're obsessed with you. I don't know what's going on.
All right, here we go. Yeah. Karen, Ola, donate 10 pounds to the podcast to Chig, and then I'll take my hat off on camera.
Good man.
There we go.
That's what I like.
There we go. Because you got the super chat going on there that you can do. So
good man.
I'll give Guendouzi a 7. I'll give Guendouzi a 7 for sure. I mean, nothing wrong with his game. We need him there. He's playing a role in this team that no one else can play with, in the middle right now with his shithousery and he's good at it. He's like when Xhaka came and was just like slide tackling people and getting yellows every 5 minutes in his first season. It was like the guy wants to get dirty, but he's just not smart about it. Guendouzi's 19 and he's already like Lichtsteiner level of dick, which I love. That you could take that little clip of what I just said and take it out of context, and I'm sure you could just have a ball with that. But,
yeah.
Wasn't saying I love dick. I was just saying that. Yeah. Just to clarify. But yeah, I'll give him a 7.
Just to big up Samir for dropping £2 into the United Negro Fund. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Much love. Right. On to the next one. Torreira. Mike, why don't you ever go with Torreira? Because I actually don't know your opinion on Torreira. Do you like him as a player? I'd be surprised if you didn't. But
no, I
think
Torreira is one of the best signings, if not the best signing of the summer. Premier League overall. I mean, yeah, he's starting to have games where you almost don't notice him, which is interesting because in the first half of the season you noticed everything he did. So he's maybe not at his sharpest lately. For this game, I would give him a 5.8, just really because there was nothing special. I've learned that a 5.8 is not bad, so I'm not wanting to give him a bad score. But he wasn't one of our better players on the day. He wasn't impactful to the game. Maybe he didn't need to be based on the way Huddersfield set up. Who knows? I don't know shit about that kind of stuff. But he's had better games. But as for my opinion on him, I think he is the first name on the team sheet every week. He's the guy that we need in there. Him next to Guendouzi is starting to look a little bit better in some ways. With Xhaka maybe missing a game or two, we're not struggling that much without him. And Xhaka's a whole nother story, but I will take Torreira in that team sheet every week. I love him.
Yeah, I agreed. I would give Torreira a 6. Another one who I thought did fine without being spectacular. And people said that Guendouzi and Torreira couldn't play together. I think those would be the same people who thought that Lichtsteiner was better than Bellerin. But there you go.
Oh, don't get me started on that guy, man.
Yeah, you want to see an enormous forehead? Go watch that video.
Yeah. So
ask him to take his hat off.
But for me, I thought, I thought he was fine yesterday. I think with Torreira, because he expends so much energy, he almost needs to play a game and rest again for like 2 weeks before you see another classic Torreira performance. But to me, I would say a 6 out of 10. I thought you did fine yesterday. How about you, Lewis?
Yeah, I don't think I could add on too much to that. You know, usually he is the heartbeat of the team. You know, loves to get forward, loves to put his foot in a challenge, but it wasn't that type of a game yesterday. It was a very strange game, actually, from what I can remember. It was just one of them games where you knew we was going to win it, and once we did it, that was it. But Torreira, yeah, he gets a 5. I didn't really see anything from him that said to me, yeah, you know, that pass was brilliant, or, you know, he did this, he did that. He was just, yeah, I'm Torreira, I'm here today. I've turned up, put my kit on, did my job alongside my partner. We win again without Xhaka and Ozil. May I just put that in there? We don't lack creativity, so yeah.
That's the actual that's verbatim the conversation that he had with himself after the game, I'm sure. He said, yeah, I'm Lucas Torreira. That's how it starts every conversation. Just double checking.
Right. So let's talk about let's not avoid it. Alex Iwobi. Now I suppose I'll start with this one. For me, I didn't think he was anywhere near as terrible as people were making out. I thought actually the first half, him and along with one other person who happens to be my man in the match, that other person. Before people who are hard of hearing say, no, I did not think Alex Iwobi was man in the match. Just to clarify. But I thought first half he was fine. He was causing all sorts of problems, particularly in the opening half an hour or so. Second half, he was terrible. There's no doubt about it. You should have had at least, and this is me being generous, at least one other goal. At least one other goal. But to me, I think he's 75% a good player. I've said that before. He has something. If you can add an end product to his game, he'd be a really useful, really good player. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever realize that at Arsenal. I've said that over and over again. For me, I hope he leaves, not because I don't want him to do well for Arsenal. It's now come to the point where I just want him to do well for himself. And I think if he goes to somewhere like Palace, where I think they would really appreciate him, and I think him and Zaha could really work well together, potentially. They're meant to be really close as well, those two. I think he would kill it there. I just don't see him being a top Arsenal player. The fans will not give him a break. But to me, he scored a goal. I thought he was highly influential for the second goal as well.
He started the movie.
Yeah. So for that reason, I'd probably give him a 5. I think a 5 is a fair mark. Really good in the first half, terrible in the second half. 5 out of 10, but scored a goal. You could argue a 6. I'm going to go a 5. Mike, what about you?
You know, I mean, we talked about him a bit at the beginning of the show. I mean, this game was a microcosm of what he is. Very influential. Had a part in both goals, obviously, the first one, but started the move on the second one. But his finishing, I mean, the dude had a 25-year-old Jenna Jameson on his lap. He wouldn't have been able to finish. I don't know what happens to him. And, of course, the goal that he took expertly, the one that was I wanted to ask you about that one. It was called back for a foul on Lacazette, against Lacazette.
Yeah.
And Iwobi was a nail offside as well. What I didn't see was, did the flag go up? Because otherwise that's an awful lack of an advantage that should have been given. Yeah. But if the flag goes up and he was saying, okay, but before the flag was a foul, we're gonna let Arsenal have the free kick, then that's probably that's fair enough. But of course, when the pressure's off and the whistle blows, he finishes it beautifully. I'll give him a 5.3 for the game yesterday. You know, he had enough, and that's probably, like you said, you can make an argument for a higher score just based on the amount of influence he had, but you can't see somebody be so wasteful in the final third and give him a better score than that.
A high mark, yeah. And even I would say that for all the people that like saying that I'm biased this, I'm biased that, I think the real listeners will know I call shit how I see it. Do I want him to do well? I won't hide that. Fuck yeah, of course I do. I'm a Nigerian, he's a Nigerian. But ultimately, I will always call shit how I see it. And yesterday, I wanted him so badly to just grab a hat trick, just so I would have, Smug Chick. If you ain't seen Smug Chick, you don't want to see Smug Chick.
It would be 24/7 Chick cast.
Oh man, sunglasses on, I'd have been like, yeah, motherfuckers. And I told you about Iwobi, right? I'd have been so proud, I'd have been beaming. But yesterday, he scored, I was happy. But he didn't kick on. I'm desperate for him to kick on. But if he doesn't, I will call shit how I see it. And yesterday was a 5 to me. But Lewis, how do you see it?
Yeah, some are saying his goal was lucky, but if you don't shoot, you don't score. I don't care how they go in, as long as it crosses that white line and the Arsenal players kicked it or headed it or done whatever they needed to do to get that ball over the line and help us towards points, it shouldn't matter. So, that's when you see Iwobi at his best, when he's picking up the ball in deep positions and he's running at pace, right? So he's gone past the middle third. Soon as this young man gets to the last third, it's almost like someone's put some blinkers on him, or they've taken the battery out of him or something, because he all of a sudden slows it down so much that the opposition get back into shape. And then you're like, Iwobi, why? He reminds me of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. 1 minute you see something really fantastically good, and then a couple of minutes later he either gives the ball away or he doesn't make that right decision in the final third. And I see our fans' frustration on him, but I think we just need to give this young man a bit of time, and we need to install a bit more confidence in him, because there is a player there. There is one.
Is he going to be the one? Is he going to be the one that sacrificed minutes when Dennis Suarez starts playing more than 15 minutes a game?
He's gonna. He probably will be. Probably, he's more of an impact player for us than he is a star at the moment.
100% agree.
I would agree with that.
And players do develop at different rates, and I think Iwobi's going to be one that will have a better end to his career than he started his career.
I'm so glad, because you know what? I hate it when people say, "Oh, well, look at Sane at 22." So people develop at completely different rates. What does that mean? Because Sane can do one thing that Iwobi can't, then Iwobi's trash. No, it just means that someone is developed at a completely different rate. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I hate that argument. If you see how much I hate that argument.
Boy, yes, I can see the steam coming out your ears.
Yeah, I hate that argument. You always see that shit on AFTV, that type of argument. It's like, no, that doesn't even make sense. That's literally comparing two separate matters that have nothing to do with each other. Because one player is one thing and one player is another thing, that means player A must be crap. No, that doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean a damn thing. So yeah, sorry, I just have to get that out.
No, that's fine. You ran away, man. It's your show. You ran away.
Chig's on tilt.
I'm on tilt. I love that fucking turf. Right, so what was your mark, by the way?
Because he's so Jekyll and Hyde, I have to give him a 5. I know he scored his goal. He scored a very good offside goal, even though some will say he was just hitting it just for the sake of it. But I actually think he meant that strike. I actually think he meant that strike for the offside goal. And he was heavily involved in the second goal. It's just that decision making that really, really it frustrates me so much. So that's why he gets a 5, because he's too inconsistent in games. And you can see it happening. You can actually visibly see it. You're like, Iwobi, shoot. And then he shoots and it ends up in the corner flag. Or
you know what? You can normally tell when Iwobi's about to fuck up when he runs too quickly into somebody, right? And then he immediately start, he almost does this kind of giraffe stopping that he does. You know, when he's trying to slow himself down, he's like, oh shit, what do I do? And I'm like, oh no, you're about to fuck up. Oh yeah, you fucked up. Okay. Oh shit.
There should be like a little yellow light that goes like that he has on his back, and it just lights up when he's about to fuck up. So make it easy, because that way everyone would be able to find out, not just you. You have this.
Yeah. Because one of my coaches, when I was a lot younger, right, he used to say to me, Lewis, you're so fast that your feet are moving faster than your brain.
Yeah, that is definitely him.
And that is Iwobi. That's what I see in Iwobi. Once he learns, he's got the pace to beat people. He's got the ability to do it. He needs to know, right, this is where this is the difference between him and Sané at the moment, and Sterling at the moment, where those two will know when to stop the ball and end shift.
Yeah.
And they know when to slow themselves down enough to assess what's going on. Iwobi hasn't quite reached that level yet. And once he does, I guarantee you a lot of people on Twitter will change their mind about Iwobi. That's what
100%. And you know what was an excellent example of what you just said? You know when Iwobi was one-on-one with the keeper? The run that he made for that was excellent. And I thought, okay, the approach was brilliant. Everything was brilliant. But then I realized, oh, no, he hasn't figured out how he's going to finish this, has he?
Yeah.
He hasn't figured it out yet. He hasn't figured it out. And the goalkeeper was closing him down. And I thought, bro, if you're unsure, square it. Don't even try and shoot. And he tried to shoot, and I was just like, oh, fucking hell, bro. What is that? What is that?
I don't think Iwobi didn't open his body enough to bend around the keeper. He had so much time to do it. Because the run was that good, all he had to do is just open up just that little bit more and just literally guide it. Or you do the cheeky finish and you just chip it over the keeper.
Yeah. 100%. 100% agree. So that's Iwobi covered. I think people who in the chat room who are calling him Javinho 2.0, harsh.
For fuck's sake, man.
Pretty harsh. Even though I quite liked Javinho as a player, but I think it's harsh. But I could see why people are saying that. I can.
Javinho with the second largest forehead in the Arsenal family.
I think Kleb might be a better comparison, because Kleb was also someone who could dribble all day long, but never had a finished product.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on with Mkhitaryan. Now, spoiler alert, this is my man of the match for me. I thought Mkhitaryan was excellent. Excellent. In the first half an hour, but I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about it. But to me, in the first half an hour, I thought it was really good. There were patches in the second half I thought was excellent as well. And I'm a big Mkhitaryan critic, but I thought Mkhitaryan did really well yesterday. And I'd give him, you know what? I'd give him a 9 out of 10. I thought he was that good yesterday. I really did. I thought he was really good yesterday. How about you?
First game back, he was due to play. I don't know if he was going to play all 90, but he was due to play most, if not all, of a U23 game this week that ended up getting abandoned at halftime because of fog. So he played 45 minutes. Other than that, this, for his first game back, you would have expected to see, some rust, and there was none. In fact, there was rust missing from rust we had seen before he got hurt. So, if this is a sign of things to come for Mkhitaryan, and he starts getting the nod there over, the Ozil Ramsey duo that seems to be out of favor, then I can live with that. He was a 7.9 yesterday, and not quite my co-man of the match, but I mean, he did everything asked of him just fine, and he showed there might be life after Ozil.
Yeah. Just for people who are wondering, fucking hell, you gave him a 9 out of 10. To me, go and watch him and Iwobi destroy that defense yesterday. First half an hour, their off the ball running, their on the ball running was so on point. Huddersfield were bamboozled. How we didn't score more goals in that period of time, I will never understand. But trust me, Huddersfield defenders hated those two yesterday. They really did. They really, really did. Lewis, how about you? What did you think about it?
It's good to see Mkhitaryan come back. I think he played well. He does offer a lot, but I find he's very inconsistent with his performances.
100%. Yes.
And that's what frustrates me, because the man came to us last January, plays his first game for against Everton and sets up 4 goals in a single game. I mean, who goes and does that? And I'm thinking, yeah, the Mkhitaryan Aubameyang collaboration part 2 at Arsenal's gonna start, and then it kind of just died off, and then he comes back. For me, Mkhitaryan needs to be a little bit more consistent, and I think if he gets a run of games, he's going to end up being a very important player. But I don't want him to shy away in the big games. I find that he does that quite a bit. But,
Yes.
I'm going to get... Sorry, go on.
No, I was agreeing with what you were saying. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So, since it's his first game back, I'll give him an 8. For someone that's only played 45 minutes of any type of football and to produce that kind of performance, it's very, very pleasing to see. It's almost like we're turning around the corner, and top 4's within sight, and he's definitely going to be an important part in the running towards the end of the season, I reckon.
You think he gets more time centrally? And this is drafted off of a question from YouTube in the chat room, but when he's played, he's been thrown out on the wing because either Ozil or Ramsey has generally been more central in midfield. So, do you think that he's going to start to get time there, either playing behind the duo of Aubameyang and Lacazette, or as in the Ozil role when we set up that way? I mean, at this point, you almost kind of have to see what he's got there, unless it's going to be Denis Suarez.
Well, I mean, ideally, if he was a harder working player, you would get him to do what Santi did, which is when Santi started getting older and didn't have so much of the legs to play out on the wing, the previous manager moved him into the middle, and it was one of the few things that I thought was a stroke of genius from him, was to move him into the middle, and you saw how he was able to orchestrate the team from the number 8 spot. He seems to like playing with 2 DMs and then a number 10, but maybe a number 10 that isn't so much an Ozil type, is more of a Ramsey, or more of an orchestrator type, but that still works hard. If he could be that type of player, I'd be happy him playing that. But for me, I think Emery hopes that Suarez will be that player. I think Suarez is too lightweight to be that player, personally. But I think he hopes that Suarez will, because Suarez ain't no winner. I've seen him on the ball a couple of times now. He can maybe do a job out there, but he ain't a winner. So for me, he's a central midfielder, a mobile central midfielder. And I think if we do decide to buy him, we can build a team around him that will allow him to do that type of stuff. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. What was your mark for Mkhitaryan? Sorry,
8.
8. Okay. And Mike,
I think, did I give him a mark? I think I gave him a 7.9.
Yeah.
7.9.
Okay. So I'm guessing I know who your man of the matches are, Mr. Lacazette. Lewis, what was your opinion on his performances yesterday?
He does what you want a number 9 to do. He tries to hold up play. He is so awkward to play against, because he's not exactly the tallest, but he's got a bit of a leap on him. He's not exactly the biggest, but he has a hell of a lot of strength, and his feet are amazing in tight, close quarters. And you think to yourself, how is he going to get out? And he just gets the ball out of his feet and bang. I love his work rate as well. You don't get many number 9s that are willing to drop in, run past their number 10 to try and get the ball back and get us on the front foot. So he definitely does deserve a lot of praise this season. He's definitely leveled up, and having Aubameyang as competition is really fired him up, but in a very, very good way. And he took his goal really well. I mean, the cross from Ainsley, it just screamed out, just touch me, and that's it. He was in the right position at the right time. The centre backs didn't pick him up on the back post, and he does his job. I love that.
Yeah, agreed. What mark would you give him?
A 9.
Okay, wow. And Michael,
I'm going 8. I'm going 8.6. He was my co-man of the match with Koscielny. I mean, he's businesslike. I love the man. He might have scored 2 goals if El Neni didn't try to use him as a springboard in the second half. He was moving away from the goal, so I don't think heading the ball into the goal was going to happen. But I think he was probably going to bring it down and try to finish it. But if Aubameyang is heavy metal, high risk, high reward, high output, but mistake prone, Lacazette is just classical music. I mean, he's just smooth, professional, does everything that you ask him to do. Generally doesn't complain about being the one who's taken off early. Again, we could talk about some of the strops that he's thrown, little mini strops, but in general, he makes the best of his situation, and he's got all the attributes of a number 9, like Lewis was saying. I mean, it's if for whatever reason we end up in a situation where we've got to decide to keep one of these guys and get rid of one of these guys, whether it's financial, whether it's to make room for somebody else. I'm not implying that I think that should happen, but if it does, I mean, Lacazette's the guy you want to hold on to.
Yeah. For me, I give Lacazette an 8. I thought he was good, worked hard, and to me, he's showing people what I've again always said for a long time about him. He doesn't need Aubameyang. Aubameyang needs him.
Oh yes.
Aubameyang needs somebody. He's always needed somebody, whether it was Mkhitaryan at Dortmund, whether and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with
There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with
that. But it is worth pointing out as you do.
It is, yeah, 100%. Because I think while Aubameyang rightly, in some ways, gets plaudits and all the plaudits, I think people sleep on Lacazette. Like I've seen Benares, who I believe is now a troll, say, what does he do? No, what does he do apart from attacking? And to me, I just thought to myself, oh, bro, all right, I'm gonna have to time you out because to me, his all-round game is so good. Yeah. It's so good, and the way he drops deep and brings people around him into the game. A lot of the reason why Iwobi and Mkhitaryan were causing problems was because Lacazette was dropping deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed that movement behind him so that Iwobi could get forward, Mkhitaryan could get forward. Even at times, as poor as I thought Maitland-Niles was, he was running up and down trying to deliver balls in. So I thought he scored a goal, a crucial goal really, that effectively killed the game. Works hard. Decent finish for the goal, but it was it was more or less a tap-in. But I just think his that goal he deserved that goal for his hard work. And to me,
you feel good for him when he scores. You're always going to feel good when Arsenal score a goal, but rarely do you feel so happy for the individual themselves. I don't know if it's just me, but I mean, when Lacazette scores, you're like, God damn, he deserved that. I'm thrilled for him, not just thrilled for us.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's subconscious, but you have to point it out because I mean, it says a lot about the player.
He's so like Zamir in the chat room says. To me, Lacazette is so important to the team. As much as people point to a Torreira or a Socrates, to me, I think Lacazette is so important because yes, Uber's attacking threat is always a threat, but to be perfectly honest, it's a luxury item that we have. The more important person is a Lacazette who can bring others into the game as well as himself. So that's why I think he's so crucial to us and the way we play.
I'll tell you what, Jig. Sorry to butt in.
No, go on.
I'm a centre half, and I can either mark Lacazette or Aubameyang. I'd rather mark Aubameyang because he's not one-dimensional, but he relies on others to create space for him. with Lacazette, because of his stature and how like he can just get into tight little spaces. He's strong and he's always on the move. He's very, very hard man to mark. And that's why when he does drop in, you'll find that both the centre halves will go with him, and it just opens the space for Aubameyang just to literally, if there is a ball over the top, just to run into the space.
Yeah. And also, just to reiterate, because I can see there's some discussion in the chat room, don't get it twisted, people. I am more than happy that we got two of the best strikers in Europe in our team. Don't get me fucking wrong. I don't. This is not my pitch for me giving up Aubameyang. Please don't misunderstand me.
For a team
I am very happy we have both.
For a team that apparently can't create, those two have pumped in a lot of goals this season. So
yeah.
Exactly.
And that's another thing that really, really grinds my gears on Twitter. I hate Twitter. I really hate Twitter at the moment. We lack creativity, but we've scored just as many goals as we're like third or fourth on the list for goals scored.
Yeah, so just a few behind Liverpool.
Where we lack creativity. But we failed to break down teams. I don't care if we win 1-0. That's the point of the game, is to win the game. It's not all right. It might not be stylish, but you have to win games pretty and ugly and scrappy. They all count. And if it's 3 points towards, I would rather us win 1-0 for the rest of the season and play absolutely dog shit and get into the top 4.
Said the same shit.
Yeah,
the same shit.
I'd rather do that than play pretty football and not get anywhere.
Yeah. I literally said the exact same thing on Twitter. I said, all the people that were bitching about the performance yesterday, trust me when I say this, if we had, I don't know how many games we have left, 10, 11, 12 left in the league.
12 or 11.
In the league. If we had 12 games where we're playing crap, we score offside goals, deflected goals, and we play even worse than we did yesterday and win them games, you will not hear a peep of negativity from me. Not even a peep. We won the game. What the heck is the problem?
I know, man. I know, man. A lot of people on Twitter were going on like we lost the game. I'm like, hold on a minute. All right, it wasn't the greatest of performances, but last season we would have lost that game or drawn it.
All day long we would have lost that game. 100%.
Yep. I mean, I said before the season that instead of the Wenger in, Wenger out duo, there were going to be 4 different sets of people now. And you had your Wenger in people who support the manager of Arsenal Football Club, whoever it is, and have the patience and respect to wait out a transition. And those are fairly few and far between, but there are. You had the Wenger in people who have daddy issues and can't handle the fact that he's gone. And the second there's anything that is less than about our team right now, you just jump on the new guy and prove that we all made a mistake and we're all hypocritical. So that's 2. You got the angry Wenger outers who got what they want. They are now showing some common sense and some patience. And I'd say among those is your man Lee Gunner.
But I will say this though, amongst that group, you have now people who are so positive about the fact that the previous manager have left that they can't bear to criticize the new manager even for a second over anything.
That's true. You should be able to.
That is annoying.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's almost like a complete other side of the spectrum. But then you got the angry Wenger outers who got exactly what they wanted, and within 6 months they're already bitching about the new guy, about everything. We are in the middle of a transition. It is, we've just found out how badly our books are with the whole January inability to buy players issue. I've gone into a lot of depth and research about the whole finances of the situation, and it's made me more angry at the previous regime with Arsene and Ivan than at Kroenke for sure, which is a whole other issue. But we've been left. We weren't left better off than as good off as we thought we were. And it's going to take a while to dig out of it. To do any better than last year would be a success. don't talk to me about the style of play, because these aren't the players that he signed. He's got to mold the club a little bit. There are going to be some people that don't buy into the new, the new style of play, and fair play to them if they don't. But you've got to filter all that through, and it's going to take a while. So if you can win ugly and win and go through 22 games where you don't lose a game, no matter whether you deserved it or not, these are positives that are keeping us from really sliding further down. And we've got a chance at finishing top 4. We've got a chance at winning the Europa League, and either of those things right now would be a bonus as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, the negativity is, if you were screaming for Wenger to get out and now you're screaming for Emery to get out, you are just you're
an idiot.
You're just a miserly.
You're a troll at this point.
Almost. I mean, you need to think about how entitled you are if that's the case. You have to put yourself in the position of trying to fix something that's broken while people are shouting and screaming at you that you're not good enough to fix it. He may prove not to be good enough to fix it, and we may be having a different conversation a year and a half from now. But for now, I mean, just do it. Say or do whatever you want, but you just look like an idiot.
Yeah, you are no better than Benares, who says he wants Bruce Rurok back. I earned you another timeout, son.
Just kick the man out.
I'm sorry. When you start saying dumb shit like that, that gets you kicked out at least for 5 minutes. Right. So before we wrap up, let's quickly give the subs and Emre a mark, and then we'll go from there. So the sub-wise, let's talk about. I'm not going to mark Willett because he didn't come on for very, very long. Let's talk about who were the damn subs?
Suarez.
Oh, yeah. Suarez and El Nene. Let's talk El Nene. Now, I'm going to say my rant on El Nene. This idiot, right? The ball came in from the left-hand side, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, because I think Iwobi was the one that set that up. And the ball came in from the left-hand side, and you're just thinking to yourself, all right, that's coming straight to Lacazette. That's coming straight to him. All he's got to do is just slot that past the keeper, headering it, slotting it past, no problem. El Nene, for some stupid reason, decides, you know what, no, I'm coming for this. Come clattering into Lacazette like some sort of idiot, and barely gets a connection on the ball. And I'm like, what the fuck is this idiot doing, right? And then the second thing that annoyed me was, I think it was more or less after that point, the ball came back over the top, and they're on their counter-attack. And you're thinking, oh, no, just clattering because we're in trouble. They're going to be in on goal. This idiot let this defender, first of all, barge past him with the ball. And he kept running. And you're just thinking, just take him out. Just take the yellow. Take the yellow. And he just allows them to have an opportunity. And I'm like, what is this guy good at doing then? Those were two things in the short space of time that pissed me off. 3 out of 10. Just for those.
I made fun of him for using Lacazette as a vault earlier in the podcast, but let me play devil's advocate a little bit, because Lacazette was backing up. He was backing up from the goal. He would have had to have been retreating a little bit to get the pass. I have no doubt that he could have brought it down and finished it perfectly, but he was backing up. Whereas El Nene making a run with momentum to use his head, and the reason he didn't come close to scoring the goal is because he was put off by the collision with Lacazette. So it's possible that El Nene might have been the one to take that. I think it could be argued, but not when you have a guy like Lacazette. I mean, between the two, if they were aware of each other's location, and they should have been, I guess El Nene should have been aware of Lacazette's location, then you don't go in there. But I'm not ready to 100% blame El Nene for that. It came off awfully, horribly, but for all we know, he might have lasered the ball in the back of the net with his head. So, but yeah, I mean, it's 5. By the time our subs came in, I was like many beers deep. So I don't really know how they did.
5 out of 10. Lewis?
I didn't see the game at that point because I was at my game. You see El Nene, Oh, he does have those moments where you think, why on earth are you trying to do this in this position? It's almost like he has a head loss on the pitch at times, and I'm like, come on, man, like, fix up, you know? And he's not quite the player that we thought he was going to be. You know, there's a lot of hype around him.
Do you know what he is, Lewis? A £5 million player.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. I am not denying that. And
he's a squad player. And a not bad one, as long as you're not counting on him to play in games.
True. But then why we need players to play? We need creme de la creme players. And we need players that are going to come off the bench when it's in a tight situation and change the game.
I'm not convinced that he does a better job in the middle than Ainsley Maitland-Niles. That's the type of thing I don't understand.
Hell no. But he's just Mr. Simple. When he does have a bit of form, he gets the ball, gives it simply. Doesn't try to overdo it elaborately. You know, if you see the little 5-yard pass, that's what you're going to get, a 5-yard pass.
And if he is a defensive midfielder, his spot might be under threat next year by returning Callum Chambers.
I was going to say that as well. Yeah.
I don't know that you can have an El Neni and a Chambers on the team when we also have Torreira, Xhaka, Guendouzi. I mean,
Xhaka's gone in the summer. He's gone.
Please, from your lips to God's ears, please let him go. Him and Mustafi, just go. I don't mind. Go.
I was saying, you see with Xhaka, right? And there's no disrespect to you, Mike, because I know you like Xhaka quite a lot.
No, that's Andy that likes Xhaka a lot.
My bad. Apologies.
Mine knows where it's at.
Are you saying we all look alike?
Right? No. But for you to be because he's an international footballer, yeah. Let me just put that in bold. International footballer who's so left-footed, he doesn't know he doesn't have a right-hand side. So I call him Mr. Turn Left.
Yeah.
Every single time that ball comes to him from the left channel, he puts it back into that danger area. And I'm thinking, you're an international player, and you're one of the club captains, and you can only play one way. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
As a central midfielder, you should be able to play on the pivot. You either play left or you play right.
Yeah.
The amount of times he's been caught only turning left, look it up. Just look up the stats on Xhaka that leads to goals when he's got the ball in a deep line position and turning left. It's ridiculous.
And to be honest with you, and I kind of agree with Archie here, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think the manager quite rates him. So I don't. Fair play. Maybe him and the previous manager are seeing something we're not seeing in. Because to me, I think for me, see, as much as people bitch about Iwobi, to me, I think Xhaka is 40% of a good player. I could see the attributes that people like about Xhaka, but I could also see the glaring holes in Xhaka's game that make me think he's more of a liability than anything. And here's the thing that backs that up. The stats for Iwobi back up that he's a good player. He just has the end product part to work on. The stats when it comes to Xhaka tells you, why are you playing this kid? That's what the stats are basically saying. Like, why are you playing this guy?
You don't need stats. You just need to open your eyes and see he's not good enough. Like, it's pure and simple as that. He is not good enough. You can see it. I'm sorry. Name another top 6 side that would take Xhaka.
But honestly, even Newcastle might think about, gosh, I don't know about that. We've got enough problems as it is.
They got John Joe Shelby, mate.
Even Newcastle would be like that, bro.
They got John Joe Shelby, who...
That's what I'm saying, bro. They got their own version of Xhaka.
He's technically better. I think he's slightly better than Xhaka.
Who's better, Xhaka or Titus Bramble?
No, wrong position. Like, if you're going to do that, you might as well just compare him to Robbie Savage.
Oh gosh.
Well, Xhaka's played in the back four.
Would you take Robbie Savage in your team? Hell no.
Do you know what? Marbles TV asked an actual question. Who's better, Jorginho for Chelsea or Xhaka for Arsenal?
I'd rather Jorginho than Xhaka.
Wow. And that is saying something.
And
Mike?
he's not exactly great.
I don't watch a lot of Chelsea games, so but I know that he's underperforming. I'd still take Xhaka. I mean, Xhaka. To me, Xhaka, he's not good enough. You're right, but he is certainly better playing next to a guy like Lucas Torreira than he is when he's not. And you don't want people who are really only able to reach an acceptable level based on who they're playing next to, because you're not always going to have the luxury of having that guy next to you. But I'd rather have Xhaka than Jorginho.
I must admit, I would too, only because you could fix the problem with Jorginho. The only way you fix the problem is by leaving him out and play Kante there, like they should have been doing from day one. That to me is an easy Chelsea fix. Whereas with Xhaka, you just have to hope that he feels like he wants to play well and Torreira's fit. If Torreira ain't fit, we're fucked. Basically.
I actually feel sorry for Torreira when he's playing alongside Xhaka. He has to do all of his running,
100%.
all of his hard work. You know?
Do you know what we were saying about Mertesacker and Koscielny? That it's the exact same thing there.
Yeah.
Torreira is Xhaka's legs. Unfortunately, the only difference is Xhaka is not Torreira's eyes. And that is where we're fucked. That is where we're fucked. So, yeah. All right. So, last but not least, the manager. What would you rate the manager?
I pass on him all year because I'm learning about him. I don't know. I don't even know how to really rate a manager in his first season anymore. I mean, I don't know how you would go about doing that. I mean, when you make substitutions, sometimes they look like the wrong substitutions and turn out to be the right ones. Sometimes it's the opposite. I'm more concerned about the big picture of who on this squad is adapting to him as opposed to the other way around. We won the game. We won an away game against a Premier League side, so you don't get any less than 6, I guess, for that. But I didn't think he did anything special in the game yesterday that changed it around. Didn't really see him adapt his tactics to anything Huddersfield was doing because he didn't really need to. So 6, 6.5, 6.3, 6.27, 6.27.
I'm going to go with 6. None of this point shit. Now
I'm going down to the second decimal.
I'm going to go with 6. Much like you, I didn't think he did anything wrong. I thought he was fine. There's nothing wrong with a 6. It was fine. It was a fine performance from him as a manager. I thought he did what he needed to do and got the 3 points. 6 out of 10. And yes, Karen, I liked it more than you did. Chelsea getting spanked.
When I read that question, I
know what you thought because I thought the same thing.
I'm like, I've never seen you get spanked, Karen, so I can't really comment on that.
Both of us should be ashamed of ourselves because we wouldn't have read it that way if Archie had asked the question. So there you go. Lewis, how about you? What would
say, man? This game, you never say you should win a game on paper, but it was won on paper. He got his selection right. We got the 3 points. That's all that matters to me. That's it. Yes, we could be defensively a bit better, but it will come with time. It will come with time. So me, I'm gonna go with a 6.
Yeah, I think a 6 is fine. By the way, you may have noticed we didn't rate Dennis Suarez. I don't know about the fellas. For me, I don't really want to rate him just yet. I want to see him start a game, I think he'll start at home to Southampton. And I want to see how he kind of plays from the get-go. I want to see more of him. From what I've seen, he looks like a good passer of the ball. Looks nippy. Looks like he can run around a lot. Almost looks like a bit of a Ramsey type. But I want to see more of him. So that I didn't really feel like marking him would be a good idea. But I thought he did okay yesterday without being anything special. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, with the other players, when we rate them, we're kind of rating them against themselves and what we know about
against
them.
their normal performances,
right? And we don't really know with Dennis Suarez, nor have we seen enough of him in either one of his appearances to really judge that. So, I mean, to make any kind of blatant criticism or bigging him up at all at this point is kind of based on nothing.
Yeah,
unless you're Tom Canton and you watch tons of feeder league football. But I mean, other than that, I don't really know what he's capable of. So,
and who does that apart from Tom?
I think no one. Teachers, I guess.
Shout out to Tom, good friend of the show. Right,
I'm going to see him in a few weeks.
There you go. There you go. Right, so what? Pretty much we're out of here now, people. Thank you for everyone that's joined us and watched. Crush the like button. I don't even know what you're doing if you haven't yet. Crush that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching for the first time. This is what I do. I have people on. We discuss the game, and then we discuss the player ratings. It's always a bunch of fun when we do that. Midweek, Claude has promised me he will come on for the preview, which will be interesting because he'll also be joined by Lee Gunner. So that one, between both of them are going to piss somebody off. If you are easily pissed off by people,
get ready for some thumbs down for that one.
Because both of them will piss somebody off. I guarantee it. So, but yeah, it'll be a fun show midweek. Today was a really fun show. Thank you, fellas. Mike, let the people know where they can find you, including your podcast, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure. We are the Gooners podcast at the Gooners Pod. We generally podcast either the day after the game or on a Monday, all different times. So tonight we're going at about 8:30 Eastern time. So it'll be in the middle of the night for all of you over there. Don't expect you to stay up for that, but give us a watch. We're on YouTube. We have Phil Shane on tonight, who's a pretty well-known football commentator for beIN Sports and Sirius XM here in the States. We like to have a good guest on every once in a while, and then other times we like to have like Lewis on. But no, it's a fun podcast. We don't take it shit too seriously. And if you haven't, I see a lot of you in the chat room who have joined us before, and it's good to see your faces again.
I've been on before. I'm expecting another Interlull invite.
Yes, the Interlull shows are something else. I don't like when there's I hate Interlulls with the exception of the Interlull show, and I think March is our next one. So that's always a good one. But it's at the Gooners Pod, the Gooners Podcast on YouTube. Give us a check us out, and Chig, thanks for having us on, for having me on. I just did something that I've criticized so many people for doing, which is using the royal we. Thanks for having us on. Like me and Lewis here. This is who I was talking
about. I finally made it.
But yes, and all the details that Mike has just said will be in the description below, including Lewis's details. Lewis, let the people know where they can find you.
Right, so you can find me on Twitter at Lulu, Lew 41986, and Insta is Louis Graham 04.
You know what I just realized, Lewis? Assuming that's your birth date, you were born on the day of my bar mitzvah.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I was the year before, so there you go.
I knew we had this special connection, and welcome to the wall of praise. This is not a wall of shame. You've made it.
I've made it. I can just about make out the expression there.
Could you look at this face? I'm doing this backwards. Can you look at this face and not just absolutely adore it? I mean, look at that man.
Thankfully, I've not yet made Mike's wall of shame. Unfortunately, I also know he has a picture to do that. So I'm going to put that picture up because I know what picture he would put up. So there you go.
I could go grab it right now and put it up.
I know you do. I know you do. Better not grab it. But yeah. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Colossal Chig. That's CHIG. You could follow me on Instagram, Gooner_Eagle_I1. Follow me on Patreon. Always putting shows on Patreon, Gooner_Eagle_I. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hit the subscribe button, crush that like button. I'll be back on Wednesday with Lee and Claude. Other than that, people, we are out of here. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. Take care. Peace.
Easy.